Now, if you're working an emerge shift, usually they start at 8 o'clock and they'll go from 8 to 8 at night, except if you're doing a 24. A patient had lunged at a police officer that had brought them in, taken their gun, and then in a altercation that How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Gianluca, aka Dr. Calcagno, and I am now a final year medical resident in my family medicine residency, and we are on our way to my rural medicine rotation. Here's the thing, I am incredibly excited about this next year. I just spent the last 3 months of my life planning the next 3 years. So where I'm gonna work, how I'm gonna set up my practice, everything of that nature. It's been quite a last 3 months kind of getting everything organized, but my plan for this next year is to load my schedule with as many different types of things as possible and experiences and training that I think is gonna make me the best family doctor that I could be. The plan for this year is to turn myself into the doctor that I always wanted to be. I want to be the type of doctor that when my patients come and see me at my office, they know that Dr. Calcagno is the best that there is in terms of their family doctor. He's been trained to as best as he possibly could be, and that he always has their best intentions at heart, and that's what I'm doing. So we got 2 months now of rural medicine lined up. So that's going to be clinics, emerge, and probably some obstetrics as well. Then I have ICU, I have more OB, I have more emerge, I have sports medicine. We're going to be right into USMLE step 3, and then the Canadian residency exams for family medicine. This is the training arc. This is the final training arc. I want to be a totally different person on the other side of this next year, and I think this is exactly what this schedule is going to be able to do for me. I built this schedule to break myself down and build myself back up, and that's what we're going to be doing starting today. Alright, so let's take it from the top. For the next 2 months, I will be working in the town of Wyerton, Ontario, which is a relatively rural town here. Population is about 4,000 or 5,000 people, and this is going to be a part of my rural family medicine rotation, which is a mandatory rotation for all residents working as family doctors here. Fact is that in many places, the rural areas here in Canada might be some of the most underserviced areas in the entire country. And as a result, all of the doctors that do work here as rural medicine family doctors need to be some of the most comprehensive providers of care in the entire country. Now, what that means as a family medicine resident is that some people actually regard this rotation as a little bit of a baptism by fire, because depending on where you're coming from, you might not be used to practicing medicine in this way, where there is a lack of specialist care, a lack of resources, a lack of imaging, and very complex patient presentations with high acuity in some cases, very long shifts, and high patient volumes, especially in the summertime when tourist season brings a whole bunch of people out to these rural areas. Okay, so I don't want this to hijack the entire video, because I want to talk a lot about rural medicine and the community and opportunities for people that are interested in doing rural medicine and what it's been like, but I do have to bring it up, and I'm glad that I get to talk about it because the information looks like it's been released to the public now. The police have released it to the newspapers, so we'll talk about it. First time that I was working in the emerge, my very first shift actually, it was a Tuesday, and it was packed. We're in the middle of peak tourist season right now, which means that there is one doctor to cover the entire hospital and nursing staff, and there's a lot of great staff working there. But the wait to see a doctor that night at one point got to at least 8 hours, 8 or 9 hours, and there was a lot of high acuity stuff that day, heart attacks, multiple, some really nasty trauma and people that injured themselves, and then some mental health crises and some drug abuse. And listen, this is all par for the course. I haven't been doing this for a very long period of time, but certainly medical school, now 1 year working, I've done my fair share of shifts in the emerge, and most of the stuff is par for the course. But as I was in the room, actually, I was approximating a wound, a pretty deep wound, and trying to focus on that and making sure the patient was okay. All of a sudden, you just hear this sound, and to be honest, I didn't think much of it. I thought it was a car. But, in hindsight, now that everything's been released, what had happened was that apparently, because I didn't see it, I was about 10 feet away in another room, a patient had lunged at a police officer that had brought them in, taken their gun, and then in a altercation that happened between the two people afterwards, a shot was fired in the actual waiting room. And thankfully, no one was hurt, and the person was able to be restrained by the police afterwards, and the situation was under control. But I'm sure that was a really scary situation for everyone involved in the waiting room. You know, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just the type of person, I don't really react too readily to this type of stuff, unless it's like an urgent concern. But I peeked my head out. Everything looked like it was under control by the time I had actually realized what was going on. And then there was an emergency right away on the other side of the hospital, so I didn't even have a time to kind of break and do anything until half an hour later when I came back and the police were taking statements. But listen, let's just call it what it is without being too political here. The self-defense laws in Canada really are not the best when it comes to defending yourself. And the close proximity that we are as medical professionals to the public, especially in a situation like the emergency department where there is no real barrier, I'm going to have to look into this a little bit more in my profession. It's a scary thought. You hear about, or certainly I've heard about, family doctors being threatened by their patients and emergency doctors, but you never really expect that you're going to be going to work and someone's going to show up with a gun. And it is something to think about. And I'm okay, and we got work again tomorrow, and I'm going to keep doing my job. But certainly, you know, when I said baptism by fire, this is not the type of fire I was expecting. And would love to hear if anyone has any comments or feedback or has ever been in a situation like this before. I really hope you haven't, but I was now, and you know, maybe in the future I'll make another video. But back to the video. So it's Thursday morning now. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the shift structure and what it's like for me when I'm here. But basically, first of all, I want to say the hospital is walking distance from my place. I can't remember if I said that in another clip already. But for me, when you're down here anyways doing locum work, or for me as a resident, 3 different shifts are either you're doing an emerge, or you're doing a family clinic shift, or you're doing something called scopes, which is where you're providing anesthesia for colonoscopy procedures. Now, if you're working an emerge shift, usually they start at 8 o'clock and they'll go from 8 to 8 at night, except if you're doing a 24. So a lot of the locum doctors, they like doing the 24-hour shifts. And for me, I have a few of them booked this month, but today's just an 8-hour. As far as family clinic goes, it really depends on who you're working with. Some people fully load their clinic days and they're there from like 9 in the morning to 5 or 6 at night. Because usually a lot of the family doctors here, they're also the hospitalists, and they're also the emerge docs, so they gotta put all of their clinic days. Their rosters, I don't think, are as full as what I'm used to, but their days are packed because they're spaced everywhere else, basically. And then the last day where you're doing the anesthesia, it's actually a really good experience because I feel like I haven't done a lot of actual anesthetic work since I was in medical school, so it's a great review. And the variety here is actually really good. The only thing that I wish there was more of in terms of learning, but don't get me wrong, everyone here is packed enough already, is OB, because everyone that is delivering gets transferred down to another hospital. The main center out this way is Owen Sound. So thankfully, all of the deliveries that happen here in Emerge are just because people can't get down there in time, but usually all of the planned deliveries are scheduled to go to another hospital. So that's the family practice, then the pharmacy, and then the hospital. So everything is right together, which is really nice. So I've said it a few times in the video already, but basically the rural areas in the country really do need more doctors to go and work there. And as a result, there's a few incentives that are already in place. If you want to do locum work, for example, all you have to do is go online, make an account on HFO Jobs, that's Health Force Ontario, and you could see the different locum work that's available in the coming year, and you could schedule whatever shifts you want. It's kind of like a first come, first serve. You sign up and you negotiate your rate. Normally, the going rate for this area is about $1,000 per day for rural medicine if you're going to be doing clinic-based work. And if you're going to do a merge, it can go up a little bit more, especially if you're going to work overnight, because you do get paid extra for working overnight in hospital. Now, the second thing to know too is that there is a rural index assigned to every place here in Ontario. Depending on how rural it is, the scale goes from 0 to 100, and the closer you get to 100, the more incentive monetarily there is to set up a practice there. And there's also things like retention bonuses and remuneration at the end of the year. So look into it if you are considering a career in rural medicine. There are some incentives. In my opinion, I think more needs to be done because we're not seeing people move here. And until we actually have the people moving out, then we need to do something else to get people to come this way. So this 50s diner right here, right beside the gym, is awesome, but really creepy late at night. Going to the gym. So I'll say one really good but interesting thing about this rotation is when the sun goes down outside, there's really not much for me to do here other than go to the gym and study. So it's been a lot of kind of go to work, come home, eat, and then just study and work out. And in that sense, I feel like I'm making amazing progress in so many different things. If anyone is a fellow nerd out there, a Dragon Ball fan, it's like the hyperbolic time chamber. You come here and the progress that I'm seeing in my studying and also in just being healthy and getting good sleep and lifting weights is just, it's really rapid. I'm noticing some really big changes. And some people might be wondering like what I study in residency. The amount of responsibility that I have here is way increased compared to what I'm used to back in Niagara Falls from my regular program. That's just because there's not a lot of doctors here. So just some workups for some things that I don't really see too often. So we saw amaurosis fugax, which is basically a TIA manifesting in partial blindness in one of your eyes. So just kind of proper workup for that. And then also tonight looking up the different types of anticoagulation for PE and DVT. And then I'm going to sleep because I'm tired and I got work tomorrow. Last shift of the week. So fun fact, but even though this is my first time coming up this way to work, when I was a kid, I actually spent a lot of time in this region because we'd go fishing a lot in a town close by called Meaford. But along the way to Meaford, there was a shop called Grandma Lamb's where they made like baked goods and stuff like that. And we always used to go when I was a kid. This is their second location now because it's been, I don't know, maybe 20 years or 15 years since we used to go fishing there all the time. And I stopped by to get myself a peach pie for tonight because tomorrow's my birthday. So I'm gonna go heading home now that work is done. I'm gonna go see Nikki and the rest of the family and eat the peach pie because that's my favorite pie. But anyways, guys, thanks for sticking around for this video today. That's the end of the vlog. If you have any questions or anything like that, leave it in the comment section below. I'm gonna enjoy my birthday and then going back to work next week. We'll see you then. Everyone have a good weekend. Take care.